My name is Andrea Loya. I am the executive director at Casa de Paz. I have been at Casa de Paz for 12 years now, actually. Yeah, Casa de Paz has almost been around 14. So, very familiar with just what it is to be in detention work. And so one of the things that I'll point out is I did have a speech, but showing up today, again, like somebody else earlier mentioned, it just feels very different to show up as an immigrant and to show up as a brown person and to do these things. And so I'm just going to point on some of the things that people have talked about before me. So one of the things I want to talk about is accountability runs bipartisan. And so I think that this group we really need to nail down on our Democrats, and bringing them into accountability does not mean that we are bashing them. It does not mean that we don't support them, and it does not mean that we're less democratic than anything else. Because it does run in a bipartisan way. And so we need to make them not only come for us and be our voice when they need our votes, but all the time. And so the folks that are currently doing a lot of photo ops for in front of the detention center, and that's multiple folks across the Democratic spectrum, and that's also multiple folks in like other spaces. I think the consulate's also doing the photo ops in front of the detention center. Those photos to people who are in detention mean absolutely nothing. That means nothing. You posting that picture outside of the detention center that you're doing something means nothing. So unless they're actually going in and making a real change for the conditions and for the things and for the medical neglect, for the guard behavior, for the food insecurity, for all of the actual issues that we have inside detention, then that's just a photo. And I say that with a lot of, it feels like probably a lot of anger to all of you, but to me it's a lot of passion, because I get to meet a lot of the people who are actually released from that detention center. I met a gentleman a week ago who describes his apprehension as essentially just being shoved inside of a car. ICE was really hunting him and his brother. His brother did have a DUI 2 years ago. So for that, also, how far back is this current administration going on certain things? And so at 5 in the morning, they were surrounded by a bunch of cars, and ICE made sure to go identify the brother. They took a bunch of pictures of the brother, and they didn't ask this gentleman a single thing. They just put him in handcuffs and shoved him in a car. And he did not have status. So he spent a month and a half inside of this detention center. And he is one of the lucky ones who has access to resources, access to an attorney, access to money, honestly, to just be able to actually get out. So that's the reality of a lot of things. Now, Casa de Paz, for a lot of those who are willing and ready to get involved, we do a lot of things. Our volunteer stuff is online, so you're able to get online, casadepazcolorado.org. But we write to letters to people who are detained. We visit people who are currently in detention, and those things go a long way, because right now the biggest thing for a lot of these people is making sure that they feel like they haven't been forgotten. We also send commissary to people, and we also send funds so that they can use it to talk to people on the phones. Calls are not free, and neither is commissary. People report things like getting maybe tiny fingernail of toothpaste. So if you want more toothpaste, you have to buy the toothpaste. So things like that are luxuries in detention. Toothpaste is a luxury in detention.
Shame.
Yeah, that is very shameful. So I urge all of you to look up and see action items that you're able to go further past this protest, past the vigils, past showing up, past the signs. Because the other reality that I also want to point us to is the fact that while all of us constantly show up in very good intentions for the vigils, a lot of people do get harmed by the vigils. Some of them are eating at 4 p.m. because that's what the guards decide to do on a Monday, just because they like to switch up the schedules. And even though that's what happens, people will also call us and say, thank you for being outside. Thank you for being there, because I know I'm not forgotten, and because I know people still care about us inside. And so showing up here is important, but showing up past here is also important. And lastly, I'm just going to talk about one of the points that I think is going to be the most important to continue to talk about moving forward is immigrants like myself are not criminals. The current amount of people in detention is about 60,000 people across the U.S. This detention center here in Aurora houses about 1,500 of them, whether they want to admit it or not. They're definitely at 1,500. And so what happens is these folks here, they are not criminals. 70% of them actually don't even have a criminal record. And for that, maybe 29% that does have a criminal record, for a lot of them, it means they took a 2-second stop sign and not a 3-second stop sign. Or they took a red light because they were, I don't know, busy. Have you ever taken a red light? And so that now has changed their entire path. Now they're having to go back to countries that they don't even know, that they've never even been to. That is that criminality. Those are not even crimes, but that is the justification to be able to lock up your community members and to be able to tell you that they don't matter and that you can forget about them and that it doesn't matter because they're just criminals. And that's not true. So today, do something, pass this rally, pass the Monday rally, pass all of the other things, and get involved. Thank you so much for being out here. Thank you for getting involved.